Old school RuneScape is notorious for taking an immense amount of time to progress through. Time that you should be spending doing something a little bit more valuable with your life. But if you are going to be sitting here on good old Rune, you should be making the most of it. I see so many newer players making mistakes that cost them so much time in game. I wanted to make sure that you, as my viewer, do not get caught in a noob trap. What I mean by this is something that does look attractive at first, but once time goes on, you're going to realize that it really wasn't worth it. One of the worst offenders and the biggest time waste that you could do early on in your RuneScape experience is getting your Graceful right off the bat here at the Mauritania course, and let me tell you why. Before I get into some numbers, let me make a few things clear. I'm not saying that the Graceful set is not a useful thing to have, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't train agility. The Canifis course offers an average of 14,000 experience per hour and 12.8 marks of grace per hour, which is fine. At level 40, this is the best that you can get. But hear me out, what if you just waited to grind out your Graceful for 20 more levels? The Seer's Agility course with the Hard Candor and Diary is going to give you 50,000 experience per hour and 14.3 marks of grace per hour. Here's the catch though, you're going to be stuck at the Seer's course until roughly level 72 where the Hallowed Sepulchre takes over, and many of you are going to keep on doing it until 82. Since you're going to be stuck here for so long anyways, you are going to get your Graceful set passively, so you might as well just do it while you're here and not grind it out earlier at a much worse experience rate. But I get it, you're 40 agility right now, and how are you going to get to 60? The first place I would start is quests. There are a ton of quests that give you agility experience, and you need to get your quest cape anyways. If you do need to get your fishing up, Barbarian Fishing does give you agility experience. This is actually how I got 60 agility on my Iron Man account, so it's definitely worthwhile since you're going to need to do the fishing anyways. At level 52, you do unlock the Hallowed Sepulchre, which gives you around like 45,000 experience per hour, which is roughly 3 times what the Canifis course gives you, so it's definitely like 3 times worth you switching over to the Sepulchre, even though it's a little bit more clicky. Just to wrap things up, don't waste tons of your time getting your Graceful at the Canifis course, just wait and get it passively when you have to do the Seer's course anyways. Alright, let's talk about the Void set. Clearly, I enjoy the aesthetic, but just like the Graceful set, if you get it at an early level, you're going to be wasting hours upon hours of your time. Let's think about where you actually use Void in game. I mean, it's pretty much just at the end game content level, like literally just Theater of Blood, and maybe Vorkath too. So since you don't really need to use it until the mid to late game, you should wait till the mid to late game to get it. Not only is it only useful to you in the late game, but the late game's also going to get you way more points. The Novice boat only gives you 3 points per game, while the Veteran gives you a whopping 5. But wait, there's more! If you complete the hard combat achievements, you'll get an additional 3 points per game. And if you act fast, not only will you have upgraded your points per game from 3 per game up to 8, almost triple, the completions on the Veteran boat are going to be much faster. These guys have much bigger arms than the folks over in that boat over there, so it's probably going to be even more than 3 times as fast to complete your Void set. At the end of the day, Void is great for the few things that it is great at, but make sure that you wait until you are getting 8 points per game and save yourself all those hours you would have lost otherwise. We all know that one guy, he just hates quests, doesn't realize that Quest Helper exists, he's level 123, still wears a combat bracelet, and has the audacity to tell me that I am wrong in my comments section. Please keep doing it, I am desperate for engagement. Not doing your quests is probably the biggest thing you can do to kneecap your progression in game, but not doing your quests, you lock yourself out of tons of different areas in game and really important pieces of content. Things like the Corrupted Gauntlet, like I'm sitting out front of here, it's a great moneymaker for mains, and it's basically essential for Iron Man. You also lock yourself out of the best skilling methods in the game, things like the Hallowed Sepulchre, which are 50% better than the next best method. I feel like I'm your disappointed father over here. Just do your damn quests already. They're really not that hard. They take like 10% of the time that they used to due to Quest Helper. If you do not have Quest Helper, it's this little plugin here on the RuneLite tab. It's all the way down at the bottom. It's got this little check mark. I don't remember if you have to install it or not. You might have to. but it'd be called Quest Helper if so. Very difficult. Anyways, it just gives you a list of quests. You can click on the quest. It's going to give you all the requirements for it, all the stuff that you need in it that's not like a skill requirement. And then it's going to give you a flashing arrow over the objectives. You don't have to think at all. Turn that brain off, smoke a joint or something, and then just spacebar your way through the entire thing. On a similar note, well, probably slightly less important, make sure that you are doing your achievement diaries as you get the requirements to do them. I could make a whole video about the benefits of doing your achievement diaries, but I trust you to just go in and check it yourself. Believe me, it's definitely worth it. And by dailies, I don't actually mean dailies in the traditional once per day sense of them. I mean activities that have a cooldown before you can repeat them, but offer a large boost in utility during your short interaction. First up, we do have Kingdom, since I'm already here and I don't have to move locations in game, but this is a great one because it's just free passive money. To utilize your Kingdom, you do need to do the Throne of Miscellanea quest, and the Royal Trouble quest is going to give you a strong boost. I strongly recommend doing this, and this one requires very minor upkeep. Currently, the wiki has this at 109k per day of passive income. My favorite one of these activities is birdhouses. It's super beneficial for your account. It gives you a ton of hunter experience for the amount of time that you're interacting with it, and it does give you bird's nests, which are a ton of money right now. You can do these once every around 50 minutes, and they take you about 50 seconds to do. The wikis have these a little bit over 80k per birdhouse run, and you also get the experience that comes along with it. Last but definitely not least, probably the most important, is going to be farm runs. These are going to give you some farming experience. It's not great, but it's not nothing, but it is going to be one of the best passive money makers for an early game account. So take this one with a grain of salt because it does depend on how many patches you have access to and the other boosting equipment. But at level 38, you do have access to growing Toadflax, which is going to be your first very profitable herb at 207k per run. Earlier on in your progression, you're probably going to get less than this because you have less patches that you have access to, but it's definitely worth doing. You can throw this in between like Slayer tasks or in between quests or something like that. I wouldn't be totally like setting an alarm or anything like that. This is a little bit too much. But it's a good thing to throw in between other things, and it's going to give you some passive money and experience along the way. I asked my clan chat for a few more examples of these. So we got Hispori, Staffs from Zaf, and Colsey inputting here, Free Dynamite, Flax the Bowstrings, Ogre Staff, Zaf Staffs. All of these are from the diaries that I mentioned in the last section. Hey guys, appreciate you all watching this video. If you are enjoying it, make sure that you do like the video and subscribe to my channel for more similar content. Do not focus on making money in the early game of old school RuneScape. I know it's kind of weird coming from me since my channel kind of came up on money making guides, and I'm gonna make more in the future, but you are so much better off training your stats in the early game than worrying about money. Working on your stats and quests, diaries, and all of that type of stuff is gonna progress your account way more than a little bit extra money. The reason for this is that honestly, in the early parts of the game, you don't need that much money. What do you really need? You need like a couple of barrow sets, like a whip, a blowpipe. And early on in the game, the moneymakers are just so much slower. There's so many in the like 500k to like 1 mil per hour range. You will save so much time by just getting what you need in the moment. And then once you max your account, you can start running the Coliseum for 18 mil per hour. Another thing that you should watch out for is getting focused too much on getting the drop at certain pieces of content. I see this a lot with some of my friends at the Tombs of Mascot. It's even happened to myself, where you're just focused on that little like 0.5 seconds at the end of the raid where you realize if it's like a white chest or a purple chest, and you didn't really enjoy any of the other content because you're just focused on that little bit of dopamine at the end. Personally, I find this to be a super miserable way to play the game. There's tons of fun to be had from the raids themselves, getting better at the content, getting better at specific little things within the content, coordinating with other players, and honestly, just having fun raiding with the boys. At the end of the day, don't focus on the drop at the end, enjoy the experience along the way. You guys already know where this one's going. There are a ton of skilling methods out there which are cleverly disguised as moneymakers, and I'm here to tell you that they are neither of those. Or I guess they technically are skilling methods and moneymakers, but you shouldn't be doing any of them. Let's take a quick look at magic trees, as it is my favorite example. Really quick, let's compare magic trees with redwoods from level 90 to 99 woodcutting. Magic trees are going to give you 25,000 experience per hour and a massive 96,000 GP per hour. A very humble wage nowadays. And this is going to take you a total of 307 hours to get to 99, whereas we do have the redwood trees. They're going to come in at 60 to 70,000 experience per hour. You're going to make no money because you're going to drop those logs on the floor where they belong, but this is only going to take you 128 hours. Cutting redwoods is going to save you 180 hours overall, and if that's not worth 30 mil to you, I really don't know what to tell you. Other great but terrible examples are amethyst and anglerfish. Play the game how you want to play it, how you have the most fun playing it, but also you gotta value your time. There are a lot of item upgrades in RuneScape. It's kind of difficult to know what you should really get next, and there's a lot of mistakes that you can make along the way. This section, we are going to deal specifically with these items that might look like a good idea, but you should really wait to get these later on. The first and probably the worst offender of these is the Pegasian boots. I actually have a pair of these just from like way back in the day, but I do not think they have left the bank in probably 4 years. Just don't get these. They're extremely expensive and they offer you an extremely minor amount of range accuracy. In a similar vein of a small amount of range accuracy, the Archer's Ring is another really bad buy. This was one that a lot of people got back in the day, but honestly nowadays I can't think of a single situation where I wouldn't rather have a light bearer. The Armadillo Crossbow is another great example of a very high cost for a very low upgrade. This does have some uses, and now that I'm filming this, I can't really think of any. I guess you could use it at next, but you'd be wanting to use a Fang anyway, so I guess you could just use it for the range phase. With it costing this much and not really giving you all too much back, I recommend just sticking with the Dragon Crossbow until you can get something better. While we're at it, let's talk about a few of the barrow sets. You are never going to really need carols. Basically, it just gives you a little bit more magic defense, but other than that, Blessed D'hide is going to be a cheaper and better option for you. Guthins as well. Healing with Guthins is just an outdated method overall, and you're much better just getting more food, or if it is an activity that does need you to sustain your health, just bring blood spells. There's a ton more that kind of like fit into this similar mold, but Project Rebalance may or may not be coming out within like the next month or so, so I'm not really comfortable putting them in here since many people are going to be watching this after that goes into effect. If you did have any items that were like kind of similar to this that you don't think people should be purchasing, let me know down in the comment section below, and if you get a good list going, I'll be sure to pin it. If you are unaware, you can purchase membership via in-game bonds using in-game currency. I'm here to tell you this is a terrible idea. Just put your membership on a credit card. If we go to the Grand Exchange and just search up bonds right now, they're going for 11.5 mil. We've already gone over this, but in the early game, you really can't make that much money per hour. I've seen a ton of people get in what I like to call a bond loop. Basically, all of your game time is spent trying to make more money just to maintain the bond so you can have membership in order to spend that time with your membership to make more money to get the next bond. Even if we're being generous, like say you're making 1 mil an hour, that's 11.5 hours of some super boring moneymaker just in order to get half a month of membership. Once you get to the end game moneymakers, if you want to do the whole like bond thing, feel free to go for it, but in the early game, it is just not worth your time. There is so much great content in old school RuneScape, you are seriously holding yourself back if you are not engaging with it out of fear of trying something new. I see it all the time, somebody not wanting to try something because they feel they don't have enough gear or they're too low level for it. And honestly, you're probably overestimating the content and overcomplicating it for yourself. I see this all the time, specifically with the fight caves and the Inferno. All you really need for the fight caves is 75 range, a blowpipe, there's tons of great guides out there. Just go in, start shooting shit. And with the Inferno, this is probably like the bigger one. If you can afford a Bofa setup, you can almost definitely get your Inferno cape. It might take you some trial and error, a lot of practice and all of that, but I guarantee if you try hard enough, you will be able to do it. Raids are another huge one, and I recommend you get into them as soon as humanly possible. They are my favorite piece of content in the game. Hear me out, I understand it's a little scary, you gotta talk to people, but you are going to have to get over that. Raiding with the boys is my favorite thing in the game, and honestly, playing with other people is the most fulfilling part of old school RuneScape. If you did want to join a clan, my clan currently is recruiting. We run a lot of raids. It is a social clan, so levels all over the place. No requirements to join. If you do want me to add you to the actual CC, join my friends chat in game. It's the two little yellow icons. I'm not on all the time. I do have a life outside of this, but eventually I will get on and then I can add you. Another great way to learn how to raid is coming to the We Do Raids discords. There are tons of people who are very helpful. who are willing to help out new players learning new content, and a ton of other people trying to learn with you. I've mentioned this a few times throughout the video, but RuneScape is just a game. It's a video game that we're supposed to play like very sparingly, just for fun in the free time. You should not make this a part-time job or the only thing that you're doing with your life. I've been addicted to it before. I'm sure you've probably been addicted to it before. It's really all about keeping it in check and just realizing that there's so much more out there that isn't this video game. Sorry for being a little soapboxy there. It's just, you know, it's summertime. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I hope that you guys all go out and enjoy it. Anyways, I do appreciate everybody in my clan and my friends in-game who I kind of use to data mine a lot of the points in this video. If I missed something and you have a really good idea that would have fit in here, make sure that you do leave it down in the comment section below. The one that I like the most, I'm going to end up pinning it and, you know, kind of switch through pins as it goes along. But I do appreciate you guys watching. We're so close to 10K subs. So if you could help me out, subscribe to the channel. That's a huge milestone for me and does help me get noticed by sponsors, which is really cool to be making money playing video games. Don't hate that. That's for sure. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.